أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المظلومين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. السلام عليك يا سيد الساجدين. السلام عليك يا زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا حليف الحسرات. السلام عليك يا ذا الثفنات. السلام عليك يا صاحب العبرات. السلام عليك يا أسير الكربات. السلام عليك يا ابن خامس أصحاب أهل الكساء. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الشهداء. السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Sisters, مؤمنين ومؤمنات, I send my condolences with a heavy heart, first and foremost to our Imam, صاحب العصر والزمان in the Ummah al-Islamiyya, and to you all on the tragedy of the martyrdom of our fourth Imam, Sayyid al-Sajideen, Zain al-Abidein, Ali ibn al-Hussein, alayhi afdal salatu wassalam, who till this day he is mazloom, when no visitors are able to visit his holy shrine, and there is no shrine to visit, but only a few rocks and the turab. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our Imam, Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, and to inshallah, with his hand, rebuild al-Baqi', Jannatul Baqi'. May Allah inshallah allow us all to go and visit that holy land of al-Madinah Munawwara. Inshallah, we will start off our program with Quran recitation from Brother Haidar, and I'd like to welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين. ويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, next we will ziyarah of them of Immat al-Baqi' alayhim as-salam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم يا كريم. أزور سادتي أئمتي أئمة البقيع عليهم السلام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم أئمة الهدى، السلام عليكم أهل التقوى، السلام عليكم أيها الحجج على أهل الدنيا، السلام عليكم أيها القوام في البرية بالقسط، السلام عليكم أهل الصفوة، السلام عليكم آل رسول الله، السلام عليكم أهل النجوى. أشهد أنكم قد بلغتم ونصحتم وصبرتم في ذات الله، وكذبتم وأسيء إليكم فغفرتم، وأشهد أنكم الأئمة الراشدون المهتدون، وأن طاعتكم مفروضة، وأن قولكم الصدق، وأنكم دعوتم فلم تجابوا، وأمرتم فلم تطاعوا، وأنكم دعائم الدين وأركان الأرض، لم تزالوا بعين الله، ينسخكم من أصلاب كل مطهر، وينقلكم من أرحام المطهرات، لم تدنسكم الجاهلية الجهلاء، ولم تشرك فيكم فتن الأهواء، طبتم وطاب منبتكم، من بكم علينا ديان الدين، فجعلكم في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه، وجعل صلاتنا عليكم رحمة لنا وكفارة لذنوبنا، إذ اختاركم الله لنا وطيب خلقنا بما ون علينا من ولايتكم، وكنا عنده مسمين بعلمكم، معترفين بتصديقنا إياكم، وهذا مقام من أسرف وأخطأ واستكان وأقر وبما جنى ورجى بمقامه الخلاص، وأن يستنقذه بكم مستنقذ الهلكى من الردى، فكونوا لي شفعاء فقد وفدت إليكم، إذ رغب عنكم أهل الدنيا واتخذوا آيات الله هزوا واستكبروا عنها. يا من هو قائم لا يسهو ودائم لا يلهو ومحيط بكل شيء، لك المن بما وفقتني وعرفتني بما أقمتني عليه، إذ صد عنه عبادك وجهلوا معرفته واستخفوا بحقه ومالوا إلى سواه، فكانت المنة منك علي مع أقوام خصصتهم بما خصصتني، فلك الحمد إذ كنت عندك في مقامي هذا مذكورا مكتوبا، فلا تحرمني ما رجوت ولا تخيبني فيما دعوت، بحرمة محمد وآله الطاهرين، وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم May Allah accept all your amal, inshallah. Up next, inshallah, I would like to welcome Samahat Sayyid Muhammad al-Mudarrisi to present his lecture with a very loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد. Before I start with the lecture, I would like to address something, and that what happened today in this country was a tragedy, and I, as a human being and as a citizen of this country, condone this heinous act. Evil can take many shapes and forms, and at the end, it will still be evil. Maybe someone will adopt a radical ideology or think he's better than everyone else. But at the end, they all are the same. they all are a manifestation of evil. So doesn't matter today that person who claimed to be from a faith or actually from a sect. I think everyone can agree with me that all true religion and all people who are believers, they believe this was just an act of terrorism, and someone who doesn't represent anyone but his sick and evil ideas. I hope that the survivors, the people who are injured, will recover soon, and we can be more vigilant to eradicate these radical ideas and these radical people from this country. This country will not be a habitat for such evil and such people. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير أنبياء الله وسيد المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين المصطفى الأمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، هدي هذه الأمة وخاتم الأئمة الحجة بن الحسن العسكري، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون وما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. In the narration, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam says, when it's the day of judgment, a caller will shout and say, where is Zain Abidein? And it says, فَكَأَنِّي أَنظُرْ إِلَى وَلَدِي عَلِيِّ بْنِ الْحُسَيْنِ بْنِ عَلِيِّ بْنِ أَبِي طَالِبٍ يَخْطُو بَيْنَ الصُّفُوفِ. Rasulullah says that it's like I see and watch my son Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib walk over the lines and come forward. You know, the title of Imam Zain al-Abidein, as I numerous times said, for ourselves, the titles, the names are wishful things that I wish my son to be like Imam Zain al-Abidein. So I name him Sajjad or Zain al-Abidein. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the verse that I mentioned, says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I have not created the jinn and man to any end other than they worship me, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And among those billions of people, this one of the best titles is deserving to Imam Zain al-Abidein, that among the worshippers, millions of worshippers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this title that Zain al-Abidein to Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein al-Sajjad alayhi salam. And with that, I think we can understand just a little bit of the worship of Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. But even with this, Imam al-Sajjad, which he was famous by his worship among friends and foes, among every Muslim, Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam would go and look at a book that he possessed. Apparently, at that book is that journal, the ibadah, the worshipping of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And he looks at it and says, where is my worship from Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam? Allahu Akbar. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, Abu Ja'far, he says in a narration that every time my father remembers a ni'mah, a bounty, he would go to sujood. He reads an ayah of sujood. Wajib, it's wajib, 4 ayahs. But we have many other ayahs that the sujood in it is not mandatory, but still he do sujood. And whenever something, Allah subhanahu, any harm will go away from him, he does sujood. You know, we usually, or some people, they do sajda of a shukr in time when they're happy, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given them something. A healthy boy or a girl, knowledge, anything they remember. They do sujood shukr maybe. But we have to remember as well to do sujood of shukr when something, a harm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he protected us from that. So Imam al-Baqir, Abu Ja'far alayhi salam, says that when he finishes his salat, he go to the sujood. And when he reconnect two people with each other, make them come back to each other, and he will do sujood as well. So the title is worthy to Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam life was, compared to a lot of Imam, very hard. Of course, all the Imams went through hardship. And the thing with Imams alayhim salam that differentiate them from common folks, of course, beside they are chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but something that they were really kind and forgiving. Even with the ziyarah of A'immatul Baqi', that we say that you were oppressed and you forgiving those people. So someone by the name of Hisham ibn Ismail, he was the governor of Medina al-Munawwara. This person, he oppressed Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam a lot. So when I think Walid ibn Abdul Malik came to power, or one of those the sons of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, when he came to power, because this person was so hated, so he needed to change his policies sometimes a new ruler, when he comes, he changes the faces, he changes previous governors, previous employees, put someone more loyal to himself. So what he wanted to do, he took Hisham ibn Ismail, he put him at the door of Marwan ibn al-Hakam alayhi la'anullah, and told the people, whoever wants something, or whoever wants to punish, or whoever wants to do anything to Hisham ibn Ismail, he can gather at the door of Marwan ibn al-Hakam and do whatever you want to him. So some people came and spit on him. Some people came and swore at him. So different people came and he couldn't do anything. And he said that, I'm not afraid of all these people, but I'm afraid of one person in particular, and that is Ali ibn al-Hussein. So when he saw Imam as-Sajjad, Ali ibn al-Hussein, approaching, he started shivering. So Imam Salamullah alayhi, he untied him. He took his hands and he says that, do you need anything? Do you need money? Because they stripped him of everything. Do you need a place to stay? Because they took everything from him. So he was stunned and said, Allahu ya'lamu haythu yaj'alu risalatah. God knows who he chooses, the people he chooses. Imagine Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, after all these, and he is the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who forgiven the people who oppressed him, who killed his uncle, Sayyid al-Shahadat Hamza, who waged a war against him, who kicked him out of the holiest of the cities, Mecca al-Mukarram. When he came back to Mecca, he said to them, Idhabu, go, you are the free ones. I'm not going to do you any harm. So Imam Sajjad salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi was the manifestation of akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. No doubt. Say one day that Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, apparently he was just a prince, wasn't a ruler, the Khalifa, so-called. So he went to Hajj, which Imam Sajjad went to Hajj 25 times on foot. 25 times on foot. And sometimes he would go with the caravans that don't recognize him. He would go to some places that there are caravans come from different places, of course, of Arabia, and he waits there and joins them. So they don't recognize him and they treat him like everyone else. So in one incident, they figured that out because Imam Sajjad was in one of the caravans going to Mecca, and they told him to do something, like sent him after a chore, like whatever. And Imam Sajjad, someone recognized Imam Sajjad, and he told him, you know who this person is? So no, this is Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is Zain al-Abidein. This is the Sajjad. And they came to him and start kissing his hand and his feet, begging him to forgive them, and asking him, why do you do this? Said, I want to be like common folks. I don't want to be treated differently. So when Imam Sajjad and Hisham ibn Abdul Malik were in Hajj, Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, as a recommended thing, to go and take the Hajar al-Aswad, as to not take, go and if you can touch it, as something recommended. But he couldn't because it was really crowded and they didn't give him any way. So when he went to the side and sat watching the Hujjaj to their tawaf, he saw someone approaching. And thus that sea of people was splitting into half, people giving him way to approach and take and grab the Hajar al-Aswad and leave. So he knew he was. So there were people from Sham with him, from Levites. They told him who this person is. He said, I don't know him. Farazdaq was there. Farazdaq was there, and he gave his famous poem at that day, that this is a person, if it wasn't for La ilaha illallah, or his laws that mean no's are yes, that anyone who asked him anything he would give. He would go to poor people. They say every day at noon, he had like a public, his door was open for everyone who was hungry to come and eat. But he himself, as one of his servants said, that I never brought him food during the day and never put a mattress for him during the night. So that is Imam Zain Abidein alayhi salam. Truly, sometimes we take pride to be at least the people who claim they are his followers and people who love these people. I mean, who cannot but love those beautiful souls of Ahl Bayt salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'in. He would go to a salat, his wudu, a simple task that a lot of us do without even realizing that we are doing it. A wudu, preparing for salats, and Imam Sajjad will shiver and his color will change. And his family will ask him, what's wrong with you? Like, you know, you see the head of the family all of a sudden starts shivering and his color change. There's something happened to you. He says, no, you don't know who I'm going to meet now. I'm going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to speak with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So every day, every night, he would go to the houses. They say that he didn't wait for people to ask him. He would go before people even asked him and be generous to them. Someone, he backbited Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salam. And someone told him the news that this person said such and such to you. So, you know, there's those kind of people who say, bring words of other people to you and take your words to other people. So they're gonna start a conflict, start an argument. Some people thrive on this actually. So Imam said, okay, let's get up and go see him. So this person was happy, like, you know, it's gonna be a fight now. So he went to the Imam, and the Imam told him, if what you said about me was true, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me. And if it wasn't true, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. He would go to the houses of the people during the nights without them even realizing, without them knowing, until the martyrdom of Imam sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And bear in mind, Imam salamullah alayhi, the duration of his imamah was 35 years. 35 years. They say in Karbala, he was about 22 to 23 years old, almost like 23 years old. And he was 57 when he was martyred. Salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. So he would go to these people's houses and give them food without them realizing who is that person who is generous to them, who doesn't let them go hungry. And as you all know, what happened during the incident of Al-Harra. Al-Harra is an incident that took place in Medina after almost a year of the martyrdom of Abi Abdullah salawatullah wasalam. And Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salam, he protected a lot of people. They sought refuge in Imam Sajjad alayhi salam's house. A lot of people were killed when Musrif ibn Uqba was sent by Yazid ibn Muawiyah to kill those people of Medina who rose against him. And Imam Salamullah alayhi, you know, when someone is bad to us, when someone is wronged us in a way, usually people don't forget that. And if they forget that, they're not gonna forgive that. Or actually, they're gonna forgive or not forget. But for Imam Sajjad salawatullahi wasalam alayhi, was doing what? Being good to those people who failed his father, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Instead of helping Abi Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam and coming to Karbala, they stayed in Medina. And see what happened to them eventually. A lot of them were killed. A lot of their women and their daughters were raped. They say about 2,000 illegitimate bastard child was born after that year. But Imam Sajjad salawatullah wasalam alayhi was always kind to them, because he was the rahmah of Rasulullah salawatullahi wasalam. He was that manifestation of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. One of the treasures that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam left us is his du'as on Sahif al-Sajjad, which we, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, everyone at least have that app in his mobile phone, or maybe a copy in his house. One of the things that Imam Sajjad did for us as a Muslim is to keep this faith alive, to keep Islam alive. So what he used to do, beside having ashab, and bear in mind, he was in that kind of a situation that he was oppressed. There was eyes always watching him. But Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, what he did, he would go and buy slaves. And we have narration in that regard. And he keep them, depends on how they are, a year or less than a year. They would say that every month of Ramadan, as I recall, inshallah I'm not mistaken, he would release those slaves. And he's not taking them to just use them. He's taking them to free them. When Islam came, there was this problem of slavery, and it existed. So Islam, instead of immediately forbid it, the Islam started laws that starting to eradicate slavery gradually. Imam Sajjad would buy slaves, teach them, make them learn, and make them scholars. And then not just release them back where they came from to their land, whether it's in the east or the west, but if some of them decided to stay, he would give them money and give them a piece of land as well. And Imam Sajjad, even when he, of course, his first wife was Fatima bint Imam al-Hassan, the daughter of Imam Hassan. But he as well freed a slave, then he married her. And Marwan ibn al-Hakam, when he heard this, he was upset that how could someone Arab from your lineage did that? And Imam al-Sajjad reminded him that this is sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If it was just for Bani Umayyah, and we have that in the history, even with the second Khalifa, we have that in the history. It's a written history. The letter that Muawiyah alayhi la'inullah sent to his illegitimate brother, Ziyad ibn Abi. Even Ziyad, when he saw that letter, he was ashamed of that letter, of what Muawiyah ordered him, how to treat the slaves. And not just the slaves, the people who became Muslim but not Arab. If it wasn't for Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam and Ahl al-Bayt salawatullahi wa salam alayhim ajma'in, Islam would have just been in that particular place. But Imam salawatullahi wa salam alayhi would take in people, free them, teach them, give them money, and release them. Some would say the number was not just in thousands, it reached 100,000 slaves, 100,000 during this 35 years of his Imam salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. So in a way, Imam salawatullahi wa salam alayhi and Islam, with the laws of Islam, they eradicated slavery in the Islamic world. That's one thing. The other is we have the treasure of their narrations. And always we listen to the lectures, we read the book to learn something from the life of our Imams, to teach ourselves, to be a better Muslim. There's many books in regards of Mu'min and Sifatul Mu'minin, the signs, the qualities, the entities, all about Mu'mineen. We have even the Quran, Surah Al-Mu'minu. So there is actually an interesting book. It's by Sheikh Hadi Najafi. It's called the book called Alf Hadith fil Mu'min. 1,000 narration in a Mu'min. 1,000 narration in a Mu'min. So there's many signs. There's the Khutbah al-Muttaqin of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali alayhi salam. There is the other narrations from the Imam salawatullahi wa salam alayhim ajma'in. And there is, of course, one in particular that I want to talk about tonight is the narration from Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, that he says, Alamatul Mu'min khams, that there's 5 signs, 5 qualities that a Mu'min possess. The first one, he was saying that to Tawus al-Yamani. Tawus al-Yamani was one of his companions that I mentioned before. He saw the Imam salawatullahi wa salam alayhi near the Kaaba, supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying, and he passed out. And he came to Imam and picked up the Imam and woke up the Imam with his tears. So Tawus al-Yamani says this narration, and he asked the Imam, what is the signs of the mu'mins? So Imam salamullah alayhi says, Al-wara'u fil khalwa, was-sadaqatu fil qillah, was-sabru 'inda al-musibah, wal-hilmu 'inda al-ghadab, was-sidqu 'inda al-khawf. So Imam salamullah alayhi says, that al-wara'u fil khalwa. If today, well, they will tell everyone that for a reason of a glitch or a virus or something, not this pandemic, of course, all the speed cameras were disabled. They're not going to work. How many people would you think that will abide with the speed limits? Not a lot. So they are afraid of consequences, not actually afraid of if they not gonna, if someone doesn't see them to do this. We have in the ziyarah, Assalamu ala man abada Allah fi sirrihi wa alaniyati. You know, in the public, you're gonna behave. In public, you're not gonna like if you're in a masjid, I mean, of course, in a Husayniyah, with your family, with the mu'minins, with other Muslim, you're not gonna use a foul language. You're not gonna do something like a big sin. So, of course, unfortunately, in some places, backbiting and ghiba, it's not gonna be considered as part of that big sins. Anyway, so you're not gonna do that in public, but if you are alone and you're watching something and no one is there, if you feel the need to change it when someone comes, that's the problem. So the mu'min doesn't need someone to watch him because he always remembers this verse of Quran, Alam ya'lam bi anna Allah yara. Doesn't he know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees and watches? If we put this verse everywhere in our house and remind ourselves with this, do we need someone to police us? You see, some people, they don't speed because they know speeding is dangerous for them. They put on their seat belts because they know it will protect them in the case of accidents. And they do abide with the laws because they know it's here to protect them. They don't need someone to police them. So, inshallah, in the time of Imam al-Mahdi, Ajalallah ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif, it will be like that. No one need to be afraid of the authority. He will be afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that should be enough for him. So this is one of the signs of the moment. If we have like a measurement and we want to measure our deen and measure our faith, we should apply it and how we act to the narration of Ahlul Bayt sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, وَالصَّدَقَةُ فِي الْقِلَّةِ. When you don't have millions or hundreds of thousands, you have just maybe a couple of hundreds of dollars in your pocket, and that's it, and in your bank accounts. But still you give sadaqah. You know, giving, we're not saying, of course, giving it all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, كَانَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ قَوَامًا. That, but give something. Like you have a couple of hundreds, maybe give 100. You have a couple of thousands, give 1,000, right? Always give a sadaqah. And it's for your own good. So that's one of the signs of the moment. And the third thing was sabru 'inda al-musibah. This is very hard. And remember that this narration is from Imam Zain al-Abidein, salamullah, who a servant of his says, sorry, Imam as-Sadiq says that every time they would bring him food, he would say, قتل ابن رسول الله جائع. The son of Rasulullah was martyred, was killed hungry. قتل ابن رسول الله عطشانا. The son of Rasulullah was killed thirsty. And he would cry until his food is soaked with his tears. So Imam Salamullah alayhi, who saw that calamity in day of Ashura, which in my humble opinion on him was much harder than a lot of the martyrs in Karbala, because the martyrs at that day, he will go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he will enter paradise. But for Imam Salamullah alayhi to endure that hardship, to go to Kufa, to Majlis, the court of Ibn Ziyad alayhi la'an, to go to Sham, to always remember this for 35 years. Imam salawatullah salam alayhi. I read the other day, yesterday, someone wrote that this day, the martyrdom of Imam as-Sajjad, is a day that he was relieved. Imam Sajjad salamullah alayhi, he stopped crying. Imam Sajjad salamullah alayhi finally will join his father and the martyrs of Karbala and Abu al-Fadl Abbas salawatullah salam alayhi as well, and his family. So Imam, when he says that, Imam salawatullah salam saw that, he experienced that, and he says, as-sabru 'inda al-musibah, to have patience when someone receives a calamity. You don't have in any narration, in any ziyarah, that Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi complained at the day of Ashura, that Imam Sajjad salawatullah wa salam alayhi complained at the majlis of Yazid ibn Muawiyah alayhi la'anullah. And what he says, salawatullah wa salam alayhi, ayyuha nas, u'tina sittan wa fuddinna bisab'a, u'tina al-ilma wal-hilm. That one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us knowledge and patience. So Imam salamullah alayhi, at that court of Yazid alayhi la'anullah, turned that majlis from a majlis of happiness to majlis of aza and cursing Yazid ibn Muawiyah, and from a captive to be Yazid his prisoner. وَالْحِلْمُ عِنْدَ الْغَضَبِ. We have a narration in regards of anger, that it's a kind of a madness. It's a kind of madness. So whoever comes down after, he comes back to his senses. But if he doesn't, that is a madness that took over that person. It's a kind of a madness. So when you look at it from sometimes different angle, when a day or two passes by, when you're angry, I mean, get out. Don't say something that you will regret. Don't do something that you will regret for the rest of your life. How many people we have in prison because of their anger? Someone told them, said something to them, and he got angry and stabbed him or punched him or whatever due to anger. And how many divorces, how many problems, marital problems happens for this reason? Someone should be the reasonable person. If the man is angry, the wife should be the reasonable person. If the wife is angry, the man should be the reasonable person. it cannot be that both become mad and crazy. They need someone to calm the other person down. So bear in mind, if someone, your husband, tells you something, you just calm down and don't reply. That's it. And when he's calm, he will regret it and come and ask for your forgiveness. And the opposite as well. وَالْحِلْمَ عِنْدَ الْغَضَبِ وَالصِّدْقُ عِنْدَ الْخَوْفِ. Being truthful is, for a lot of people, is very hard. Of course, there is a disease with some people. There are pathological liars. But sometimes when you are most afraid that, there's this narration that someone came to one of the Imams and he told him that I cannot but sin. Said to him, give me one sin not to do. Said, okay, just don't lie. He wanted to go to take something that it wasn't his, rob someone. So he was asking himself, what if someone sees that in my hand? What should I tell him? I need to lie, so I shouldn't do it. So he wanted to commit an adultery. Then he asked himself, what if someone asked me, where are you going? I should lie, then I shouldn't do it. So because of not lying, he became a pious person. And bear in mind that when you possess one of those qualities, the rest will come as well. It will be like a chain that you can hold, and inshallah will elevate your iman and you, inshallah, to the highest levels of heaven. And the narration we have from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Al-Bakka'una khamsa. There are 5 people who, in history of mankind, they cried a lot. The first one was our father, Adam, ala nabina wa alayhi afdal salatu wassalam. The second one was Yaqub, وَبْيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْحُزْنِ فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ. Yaqub, for the loss of his son Yusuf, and Yusuf for the loss of his father when he was taken from his father. And Fatima al-Zahra bint Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, for the loss of her father salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi, and that injustice that has been done to her and to her husband. And Imam as-Sajjad Ali ibn al-Husayn alayhi salam. Someone came to Imam salamullah alayhi and saw him, like, when you bring him water, he will cry. When you bring him food, he will cry. Imam told him, that person told the Imam, isn't it martyrdom for you is something common? أَلَمْ يَكُنْ الْقَتْلُ لَكُمْ عَادَةً وَكَرَامَتُكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ شَهَادَةً. And the bounty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon you is that martyrdom. He said, yes, but whenever I look at my aunties, I will cry. And I remember what happened to them at that day of Ashura. It wasn't easy on Imam as-Sajjad. And he mentioned what Yaqub went through. He lost his eyesight, and he knew that Yusuf was alive. And he saw his brothers, his uncles, the companions of Rasulullah, of Abi Abdullah and his father on the plain of Karbala, and their head been marched to Kufa in front of him and to Sham after that. But one thing, Imam Sajjad Salamullah alayhi, one person in particular, Imam Sajjad will ask about. Someone from Kufa said that I came to visit my Imam, Zain al-Abidein alayhi salam, and he asked me, when you left Kufa, what was Harmala? And that person said he was still walking at the markets of Kufa. Out of all those people, Imam Sajjad asked about Harmala. And if a person wonders why, it might be because of not the eye of Abu al-Fadl Abbas. It might not be for the heart of his father, Abi Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. It just might be for the throat of Abdullah al-Radi alayhi salam. That when Abi Abdullah asked the people, if there is a sin that we committed, if the adults are guilty, what is the guilt of this child? Take him and give him some drops of water. So the people of that camp start arguing. Some would say, give him some water. Some would say, don't let anyone survive from this household. Then Umar ibn Sa'ad alayhi la'inullah told Harmalah to kill that child. And Harmalah, he said that when I shot Abdullah al-Radiya, I saw him flapping in his father's lap like a severed dove. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل بيت محمد أي منقلب سينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, by the grace of Amma salawatullahi wa salam alayhi ajma'in, to protect the people who love Ahl Bayt salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, to keep them safe, especially in these dire times that we are seeing and those events that it's unfolding in Afghanistan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep them safe, to protect them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the right path, the path of Muhammad and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to illuminate our hearts and our souls with the light of Ahl Bayt sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of Sahib al-Asr wa al-Zaman Ajalullah ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the name of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, to give speedy recovery to all the people who are in need of da'ah, especially the mu'mineen and mu'minat who are in hospital. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lift this pandemic from all of us. Ameen. رب العالمين وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
ہائے سجاد 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 عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے ایک پھول ہے جس کو کانٹوں پر ایک پھول ہے جس کو کانٹوں پر دن رات چلایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے عباس کی غیرت سے اکثر عابد کی اسیری پوچھتی ہے عباس کی غیرت سے اکثر عابد کی اسیری پوچھتی ہے کیا 4 برس کی بہنا کو کیا 4 برس کی بہنا کو زندہ میں سلایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے سادات کے خیمے جلتے ہیں شعلوں میں گری ہے آل نبی سادات کے خیمے جلتے ہیں شعلوں میں گری ہے آل نبی پھر آج نبی کی بیٹی پر پھر آج نبی کی بیٹی پر دروازہ گرایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے رہ رہ کے شہیدی دیکھتے ہیں نیزے سے سکینہ کی جانب رہ رہ کے شہیدی دیکھتے ہیں نیزے سے سکینہ کی جانب لگتا ہے کہ پوچھتے ناکا سے لگتا ہے کہ پوچھتے ناکا سے بچی کو گرایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے بی بی کو قریب لاش جری دروں کی اذیت دیتے ہیں بی بی کو قریب لاش جری دروں کی اذیت دیتے ہیں عباس کو تڑپانے کے لیے عباس کو تڑپانے کے لیے زینب کو ستایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے غیرت کے سبب جس بی بی نے گھر میں بھی نہ دیکھا آئینہ غیرت کے سبب جس بی بی نے گھر میں بھی نہ دیکھا آئینہ بے پردہ اسے لانے کے لیے بے پردہ اسے لانے کے لیے دربار سجایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے عابد کو جہاں غش آتا ہے دروں سے جگایا جاتا ہے बिन ब्याह के अकबर मार गए, अरमान न निकले बानों के। बिन ब्याह के अकबर मार गए, अरमान न निकले बानों के। ताबूत पे अकबर के सहरा, ताबूत पे अकबर के सहरा, कुछ यूं भी चढ़ाया जाता है। आबिद को जहां गश आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है। आबिद को जहां गश आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है। वो नो के सिना पर गैरत से रुकता ही नहीं गिर जाता है। वो नो के सिना पर गैरत से रुकता ही नहीं गिर जाता है। अरे जब जब भी सरे अब्बास जरी, जब जब भी सरे अब्बास जरी, नेज़े पे चढ़ाया जाता है। आबिद को जहां गश आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है। पर्दे में बिलाले करबुबला, रोए न मेरा मौला क्यों कर। पर्दे में बिलाले करबुबला, रोए न मेरा मौला क्यों कर। अफसोस के तुरबत में अब तक, अफसोस के तुरबत में अब तक, ज़हरा को रुलाया जाता है। आबिद को जहां गश आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है। आबिद को जहां गश आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है। या हुसैन मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. قد أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على ابن مكة ومنى. مسموم القلب وانهدم حيلي، من طف كربلاء تقطع دليلي. مسموم القلب وانهدم حيلي، من طف كربلاء تقطع دليلي. يا الباقر تراني وافتني المنية، يا الباقر تراني وافتني المنية. مسموم القلب وانهدم حيلي، من طف كربلاء تقطع دليلي. يا الباقر تراني وافتني المنية. علت للسجاد ونا بحالة إحضار المنية، مثل ونة قلب زينب من صواب الغاضرية. يجود ويعالج بروحه وعينه للباقر ربية. وينايا يا وليدي انتهت وهاي المناية جدمت، وروحي بوريدي تعلقت. هاك خذ مني التحية، بالإسلام نفذ لي وصيتي، وعليك بالصبر مصباح بيتي. وتصور بياني وافتني المنية، مسموم القلب وانهدم حيلي، بنطف كربلاء تقطع دليلي، يا الباقر تراني وافتني المنية، هاك خذ مني قواعد دينك وشرعه ونظامه، وينمزج نور الرسالة بنورك ونور الإمامة، وهاي من جدك محمد، اللهم صل على محمد، وهاي من جدك محمد، لعد ذريته كرامة، تقسيم الأرزاق انقسم، إلنا السيادة على الأمم، باللوح من خط القلم، من المبدأ للقيامة، وانت يكون تتسلم أمرها وتقوم بمصاعبها وخطرها، مثل لي كياني وافتني المنية، مثل لي كياني وافتني المنية، مسموم القلب وانهدم حالي، من طف كربلاء تقطع دليلي، يا الباقر تراني وافتني المنية، يا وليدي صبر دليلك بعد أوصيك بوصية، من تشاهد جسم عاري سابح بدم الحمية، اذكر جروح الحسين اللي تعد 1900، ولو شفت جثة مقطعة حد السيوف موزعة، اذكر الأكبر ومصرعة وصيح آية الغابرية، يا ابني ولو شفت بالعرس حنة، اذكر جاسم اللي بالدم تحنى، من دهر الجفاني وافتني المنية، مسموم القلب وانهدم حيلي، من طف كربلاء تقطع دليلي، يا الباقر تراني وافتني المنية، لون يا الباقر تريد مصاب مأثر عليا، والحمس كبدي ومردني وركزني الشابية، تصبر بمحكم الباري عين محبوبة ونبية، وستشاهد كربلاء وسهم نفذ من حرملة، للطفل عطشان اجتلى وفجع قلب الفاطمية، لما حسين دم الطفل بيده، وطلع سهم المخيط وريده، ومصابة دهاني وافتني المنية، مسموم القلب وانهدم حيلي، من طف كربلاء تقطع دليلي، مسموم القلب وانهدم حيلي، من طف كربلاء تقطع دليلي، إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أهل بيت محمد أي منقلب سينقلبون، والعاقبة للمتقين. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين. Thank you to all the brothers and sisters, mu'min and mu'minat, for joining in tonight. Just a few announcements before we finish off our program with the salam. Inshallah, we will, as we know, it's still alert level 4 here in Auckland. So for the time being, the Husseiniya is still permanently closed until the level 4 restrictions lift. So inshallah, we will continue to have our majalis online, alhamdulillah, with the blessing that we have to be able to do them online. We also have weekly programs for Dua Tawassul and Dua Kumail, alongside a lecture from Samahat al-Sayyid Muhammad al-Mudarrisi, a short lecture from Samahat al-Sayyid. We did them last week. You can go and watch them on YouTube. Actually, very useful lectures. And of course, for everyone to come together and recite the du'as. So please do tune in and stay connected with us during this lockdown. Inshallah, we will conclude with the salam to Ahl al-Bayt al-Nubuwwah, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم يا كريم. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين، عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل يا رب على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء البتول سيدتي نساء العالمين. وصل يا رب على صبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين عليه السلام، وبالخصوص سيدي ومولاي أبا الفضل العباس وسيدتي ومولاتي زينب الكبرى عليهما السلام. وصل يا رب على أئمة المسلمين ومصابيح الدجى وحجج الله على خلقه، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الصالح الهادي المهدي، حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا، وهب لنا من رأفته ورحمته ودعاءه وخيره. يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل يا رب على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد. Inshallah, please, mu'mineen and mu'minat, I request all of you, once we conclude the program, to recite the Surah Fatiha for all of your marhumeen, the marhumeen of all the sponsors and the helpers of the program. Inshallah, before that, lots salawat, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.